I'm going to start this video. It's Wendy from Wendy's Way. I'm going to start this video by explaining our homemade transfer paper. I've taken a pencil, and it's best to put it on a hard surface when you're doing that too. And I scribble this way, that way, whichever way, using the flat of the side of the pencil. And the darker the lead, the better. So this creates our own homemade graphite paper or transfer paper, which the reason we want to use this is when we find we use any other transfer paper, graphite paper, whatever, when you're tracing your piece afterwards, the graphite tends to coat your pen, the tip of your pen, and then we don't get a good life out of our pens. They actually get this film on it, and we can't get it off, and it ruins the pen. So why we do this does not create the same thing. This is also very erasable, which is nice because we're using it on a mat board, which is a paper product. We also do little gift cards. This pattern that we're working on today comes with a gift card size line drawing. And a lot of people take the gift cards and they will use them to, after they receive them, they pick up a little frame and they frame them. So it's a double duty. Anyway, the pen and ink cards are a lot of fun to do. But we find this to be the best transferring mode for our pen and inks. So if you are working on a face or something and you know how we don't want the lines to be bold, this helps with that as well. This will be nice and soft and delicate lines to transfer on your regular painting. Okay, so we're going to stop with this and we're going to move on to our pattern. Now, I'm using an 11 by 14 mat board. And my pattern, in my e-packet, it'll come in 2 different pages, so you'll tape it together. But there's no reason to have to trace it onto tracing paper. I just take this paper and I've already folded it to center it on my board where I would like it to be positioned. And I don't want to tape on the front of my board because tape it is a paper. So I flip it over and I tape in 2 pieces on the back. All right. So now I'm going to take my homemade transfer paper and I'm going to slide it in underneath. And I like to leave a little bit off the edge so I can see where I can go to before I have to slide my transfer paper down. I like to use a red pen so that I'm able to see where I have traced. And that way I'm seeing if I've missed a line. Now, this is a little bunny. Nothing has to be absolutely perfect when you trace. As you can see how I'm following my lines so close. The eyes, of course, you want to kind of transfer on as close as possible. I just want to do a little bit so that I can lift and show you what strength this transfers on. So you see how delicate, but it's not like it's too hard to see. You're able to follow that. So you would continue and you'll trace your whole pattern on, and then we'll go from there. All right, so I'm back again, and now we're going to start our inking. I can see where I've missed a couple of lines here, so I'll just go in and bring those in. Anyway, okay, so you have an inking diagram you're going to follow, And we start with just a couple, anywhere there's kind of a V, I like to go in with a few little dots. I'm using my 02, not a 005. That one is a little bit too delicate. We like it for inking, but you can't use it for dotting. Now I'm going to put dots in here throughout my pattern where I'm going to be inking. And these are going to be just, you see how I'm bringing them just gently a little bit less. These are heavier down here. We've done some pieces that you just dot in them to do the shading. They're incredible. I think we should be doing another one. Haven't done it in a long time. Pardon me. So I'm just going to fade these out. It's like walking out a shadow. I'll do some dotting everywhere that you're going to be inking. I think I'm dotting so hard I'm shaking the camera. So I'll bring some in this area here as well as in here. We'll put a little bit around the eyes. And we'll put them in anywhere that's darker in our inking diagram. These can be added in after as well. Any lines that you feel you need to strengthen, by that I mean like maybe I'd like to have it a little bit bolder so I can separate for myself the ear and the bottom of the hat. This being the edge of the ear. This is the hat that's folded over. So you can strengthen up these lines, and I never stay perfectly on the line. It's a little scribbly thing that this isn't drafting. So we're not trying to be perfect on this. You see how I can strengthen up the bottom of my holly, or the berries, the holly berries. They'll stand out nicely. And we'll be inking according to our picture as well. Once we're done our inking, we always go back and look and see if there's areas that need to be strengthened up. So by following our picture, our line drawing, we're going to take, now I'm switching to my 005. I want a nice, fine, delicate one that is going to give me lines, but they're not going to be as dark. So you see, you might not notice it as much, but these are very fine. They're not going to be so bold, not jump out at you. Now we want to leave some light in the middle of the face. So times like that, I think it's better to kind of see how I'm going to almost block in that area that I want to just gently fade to. So when you look at your picture, you'll see, oh yeah, there's light there. It doesn't mean there isn't going to be any little hair there, because there will be. And when you overlap strokes, you see how that's creating a bit of a shadow. Another really important part is in our eyes. We want to leave a highlight in here. And you get going to town, and before you know it, you've filled it in and you've got no place for a highlight. So if you look at your inking diagram and you can see, okay, there's a light section in there. So I like to go in and kind of block in that light section so that I don't end up scratching my little strokes in here. The pupil of the eye is quite dark, but if we don't end up with, and it's not black colored in, I am stroking it with scratches. And you see how now there's a little highlight in that eye. So I want you to make sure that you kind of just block in those highlights. If you mess it up, it's been done by yours truly, you get inking away and you think, oh crap, I forgot about the little highlight. What you can do is you can cheat after and bring it in with a bit of white paint, but we like to be able to ink it. Actually, not ink it. So I'll come in here. I do want to have a few little scratches heading into it so it doesn't look like I drew in a little white circle there. And then the little areas up at the end of the eye are quite strong. So I will scribble those in. I like to go to the darker sections first so I can find where I'm going. And then this is the iris of our eye. It's going to be done in brown later, but I don't want it left just pure white. But I do want to see more light in it compared to these parts in the eye. So that works out great. Now I've also got a couple of lines like this one around the eye. I'm still going to be bringing in more of the little hair. And you see the direction that I'm coming with this hair. This one's coming straight down. These will be coming in from that side. Around the eye, the same thing. If you're going to sort of shade it in there, this guy needs to have that little bit of a... Now see when this is left white, how kind of mean and beady he tends to look? So as soon as we get some inking in that iris, it changes it for us. The muzzle is quite light. It's left with, like there's a little bit of dotting in there, which I shouldn't be using my inking pen. But you see the direction. This is really, really important when you're doing any kind of fur, is that I'm going to pull that direction. I still want to leave my little bits of a highlight section in the middle there. And don't start and stop your strokes at the same place. Then it looks drawn. We want them to overlap each other, some shorter, some longer. I think the problem that you might find is if you make them too long. You don't really want them to be long. And then we're going to give her a little bit of eyelashes. And I always like to darken because maybe she uses eyeliner as well, for all we know. So I'll put those lines in. And then when we're inking in an area, say like this, this is what we call cross hatching. We come through and we're doing our cross hatching. That's going to create shadows for us. It shouldn't look like an X and O board, not straight. And the more I go over an area, I'll keep going back and forth over this area. Do you see how my shadow has been created? And I'll just come out. We want to have a little bit of a crevice in the hat that it bends. So by cross-hatching loosely up here, a little darker next to the ear, it creates the look that our hat has a dip in it there. And we're going to do the same coming around. We're going to have some cross-hatch because this is a bit of a shadow. So what you're doing is you're technically shading with your pen. That's what we like to look at it as. So you're looking for your areas that need to be darkened. We're shading these in with a pen. And they work out quite nice. And then I'll come over here and I'll give a nice dip in the hat again. Everything needs to have a direction. So you're following that direction. See how I'll follow the direction that my ear is, the edge line on the ear. Come out with that. And then throughout here, like I say, I'll keep going over this till I have the strength that I want, the shadow. And there'll be like just a few little strokes throughout here so that it's lighter left in the middle. However, it still looks like bunny fur. So we create all of these shadows. We want a nice dark shadow under the ear. And every now and then, you might not notice it, but I'll turn my pen because these are disposable nibs, and we want to make sure that you don't kind of wear out one side and flatten it down, and that's very easy to do. So we want to darken this little bit of a shadow in there, and I lightly kind of scribble. You'll see quite often I'm kind of a, but I'm not pressing on the little pen. I'm scratching it along. Again, we want to create a little bit of a bend in the ear. So this will make it appear that our ear kind of bends there. The other thing, I'm going to take my 02. I haven't finished inking in here, but everything that... And I'm going to pull whiskers out. Back to this side. It's easier to do these when you can see where they are. So what I mean by that is once we get inking in there, you may find that you cover a lot. So your whiskers will still be there, but you might find it easier to go in and put them in like that. Now the curlies in our hat are wool. It's just going to be simply little C's facing this way, that way. This is going to create that loopy curly, and that's the same thing we're doing in our pom-pom. You'll add more than what are on your pattern. I've got a few on the pattern just so that you can see what you're doing with that. So on your pom-pom. So you'll go through and we'll do that. On our holly, once we get them inked, we will also pull veins out to the curvy, pointy parts. And now you see, I like to strengthen the tips of the holly. And you'll see that that is nice in your piece at all. It also helps to show where they've overlapped each other. Now you don't have to make everyone really strong. It's up to yourself. Of course, I'm going to have inking coming up my stems. I have a little coming out there, so I would strengthen that vein in the middle as well. We need to show where this one overlaps. So we've got to have a shadow. We want to have a shadow underneath there. All of our holly, we come up from the base with more inking and scratching. So we'll do our looping in here. There's really only cross-hatching at both outer edges, which will again round our hat, the brim of our hat, and create the look that it bends back around the back of his little head. Okay, and the berries, it's the same thing. We're gonna, if you've got one overlapping the other, we're gonna cross hatch a bit there to create a shadow. We want to leave the centers of the berries nice and empty. So you'll carry on like that. So we're going to continue. And on the ball, I want you to pay particular attention to your diagram. There's not a lot of inking on your ball. We want it left quite blank. So you'll follow that. In the middle, very lightly, we'll do like a cross hatching to create the look of a sheen on it that the light is reflecting. And we'll go through, like I say, keep it nice and faint. We don't want to get it too dark, too busy. All right, so you'll continue on like that, following your inking diagram, and I'll be back. Okay, whoops, don't jiggle. I'm back with this, and I want to show you, it's pretty much close to done, but I want to have it a little darker under the brim of my hat. So you can either do a little cross hatching there, or you can just pull stronger strokes. But the important thing is that you go the direction they're going, and you don't stop and start at the same place, because then it's just going to look like a straight group, a line of straight hair. So do you see on this side now where I've darkened, and this side I have not? So it makes a difference. I'm going to come down here to the edge of the outer edge of my scarf. And I'm just going to kind of go back over that a few times. You know how I said you just repeat strokes over strokes, and all of a sudden it's a darker shadow. So you see both sides of his scarf as well, how it makes a difference. I'm not having to bring it out further. I want it to stay fairly light in the middle, but I'm just strengthening those edges, and it makes a big difference. Okay, so I'll go throughout this piece and strengthen up a bit in my holly, strengthen up the rest of this scarf, and you need to be able to see where things separate, right? So this is important. This is where I do those, what I call the scribbly lines. It just enhances those lines. I want to make sure that you can see the difference. This is on the bunny's belly opposed to the ball. I don't want them to look like they've run right into each other. Pardon me, this is not on the belly, this is on the ribbon. But I need this to have its own identity, so I want to strengthen the line around my ball. Even the holly that's poking out onto it. All right, so you see how that just pops it out a little bit more. So I will continue with that and strengthen up any areas that I feel need to be defined a little bit more. So it's just about, and we always find if you step back from it, like just kind of set it across the room over by the TV, whatever, and just kind of glance at it every now and then. You'll see, oh gosh, like this side, needs more inking. This side needs more. So you'll definitely see what you're looking for when you put it aside and keep it away from it yourself. Like, don't be right on top of it. If you're not over analyzing it, that's when you see what needs to be done. So once you've completed your inking to what you like, we will go to adding the color, which I will do later. All right, we'll see you again.